Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Stop Mass Hysteria, Michael Savage.
So I wake up this morning and I see that Trump's people put up barbed wire a little too late on the Tijuana border after a bunch of them rushed into America and are waiting to suck us dry. And then I read 650 of them rushing toward the border in Arizona yelling asylum, coached by the ACLU, funded no doubt by the emigre who trades money for a living. And I say to myself, what difference does it make who's in office? Tell me what difference it makes. You tell me what difference it makes. Tell me what difference it makes. We know the Republicans don't want a wall, and the Republicans, in fact, want the illegal immigrants here. We know that. We know all the Democrats want them here. So what does that leave us? We, the people, don't want them here. What are we going to do if we have no representation at any level? Illegals rushing towards the border yelling asylum, coached by ACLU. I'll throw it in the garbage. That's what I'll do. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you the headlines that I was going to talk about and then not talk about them. Instead, in the opening, I'm going to give you a recipe for cooking a turkey the proper way, because I think that's of more interest to most people than things we can't control. We can pretty much assume at this point that for whatever the reason, all politicians are liars. It doesn't matter who they are. That's why we elected a businessman. But at the end of the day, does it even matter that we elected a businessman since he is paralyzed by the system? It doesn't matter who you are, even with the best of intentions. You'll be crippled by the corruption. Or, as Aristotle famously said, Aristotle Onassis famously said, if you're going to get raped, you may as well enjoy it. And so the best way to enjoy it is enjoy what you have, tend your own garden, take care of yourself and your family. Illegal aliens rush towards the border yelling asylum, coached by ACLU. This you're not going to believe altogether. Remember I told you that the Republicans are throwbacks and so out of touch with women and the younger people with regard to wildlife? Well, behind the scenes, Republicans are now furiously pushing legislation that would remove gray wolves from the list of threatened and endangered animals protected under the Environmental Species Act, which has safeguarded the wolves and brought them back to life. They're rushing to do it while they still have the power in the House of lobbyists, because they're going to vote on it this Friday, because very soon the Republicans have only a few weeks left until they cede control of the House to the Democrats. So they gave us no border wall, and now they want to kill the gray wolves. Now you understand why women and millennials hate Republicans. Male gym teacher at middle school punished for not watching a trans girl get undressed in a boys' locker room. This one takes the cake altogether. This takes the cake altogether. A deviant took over the school and put a gag order on the school in Florida and said nobody could even talk about what she imposed upon the school with regard to transgender policies. With a gag order, school administrators forbade teachers from talking about the change and ordered a male PE teacher to supervise an undressed girl in the Chasco Middle School locker room. When the phys ed teacher refused to knowingly place himself in a position to observe a minor female in the nude or otherwise in a state of undress, administrators told him he will be transferred to another school as discipline for not doing your job in the locker room. This is what happens when deviants take over school systems. I'm not mincing words anymore. It's too late in my life to mince words. The deviants have destroyed everything. Speaking about deviants, Michelle Obama's money-making hypocrisy is laughable. Have you heard about this? The woman of the people out on the road peddling her fake book, her fake life, that she was a poor girl. Did you hear what the seats are going for? $90,000 apiece to meet and greet the poor girl. And while you're at the event for Michelle Obama's money-making book tour, you can buy things such as a Find Your Voice mug for $20 or a Find Your Flame and Keep It Lit candle for $35, becoming a hoodie for $65, When they go low, we go high. A T-shirt for $35. A keychain, $15. Pencils and a bookmark. $10 in any and all purchases in a plastic bag emblazoned with the book cover and Michelle Obama's face everywhere. Isn't that wonderful to see what a woman of the people she really is? Scientists admit errors in studies showing oceans are warming. Oh, really? A little error. Why are young people having so little sex? To the relief of many parents, educators, and clergy members who care about the health and well-being of young people, teens are launching their sex lives later. The main reason is pornography. All the other reasons don't add up to anything. The signs are that pornography is actually decimating the human race, and that pornographers should actually be executed. Pornography should be eliminated, illegal, destroyed, taken out of society as it once was. It is a poison to the human mind. Then again, we can revisit De Niro's last role, From Raging Bull to Raging Fool. That was a good topic yesterday. I told you I'm not going to talk about any of this stuff. These are the topics that I would have talked about if I was in the mood to be a talk show host today, but I'm not. I'm really not. So I'm going to talk about how one other topic I was going to talk about. I was scanning television shows last night out of boredom, and I stumbled upon a show put out by Vice about a rehab thing down in Florida. You know, the heroin addicts and all, coke addicts. I got so infuriated I wanted to break the television. I'm so sick of junkies as movie stars. I'm so sick of degenerate, filthy prostitutes and junkies held up as role models by Nat Geo. By the way, do you know who owns Nat Geo? Do you know which network owns Nat Geo and has destroyed a once great brand? I'll tell you about it a little later. Every show is about the poor, downtrodden heroin addict. And do you know what the cost of rehab is? Do you have any idea what a racket the rehab racket is? Do you know who owns the rehab facilities? Do you have any idea how this is sucking our health system dry? So I'll ask you, the American people, to chime in on this. I have no sympathy for drug addicts at all. Zero. None. I don't care if you have one in your family. I don't care. I'm sick and tired of paying the bill for it. I didn't stick that needle in his arm. And I'm sick and tired of them whining in their cars on the way to rehab. They go in for a nice 30-day vacation at my expense. Then they come out and shoot up again, and they're back in another rehab facility. What do I care about them for? What would your solution be to the junkie population in America? What would your solution be to solve the junkie problem in America? Holding their hand and crying with them about how the mother looked at them the wrong way? How life has been unfair to them? Not me. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it all. The rehab racket, man, it's awful. How would you treat junkies? Now, you understand that these are the topics I'm not going to talk about, and instead I'm going to tell you how to make a turkey. Because I think the only thing on people's minds, especially younger people who can't even boil water, the younger people who vote for Democrats and believe in global warming and don't have sex, let's see what else they believe in. They don't know how to make a turkey. They can't even boil water. They're helpless. So let's say you buy a turkey in the 12 to 16 pound range. Now, if you're a snowflake, you might have a nervous breakdown just going into the supermarket and buying a turkey, because that could be a challenge unto itself. After all, you have to look at the weight. You have to handle it. It's an animal. You can start to cry over the turkey. Then you get it home, and you heat the oven to 450 degrees to preheat it. That means preheat it. You know what preheat means? That means with nothing in it. Do you know how to set an oven to 450? You look up there where the numbers are, and you go 450, and you press start. That's if they're pressing oven on. And then you put the turkey into the oven. You drop the temperature to 350. And then you figure on cooking it for about 13 minutes of cooking time for every pound of turkey if you roast it empty. And if you stuff it, it's 15 minutes per pound. And try to baste it during the cooking. Do you know what basting means? I know many of you don't know what basting means, except the women from San Francisco who have increased the population through the basting method. But you baste the turkey throughout the cooking process, and that's the whole deal. And then when it comes out, you let it sit for a while, and then the hard part is the cutting. Since many of you millennials are afraid of knives, guns, pencil sharpeners, scissors, letter openers, any sharp object. This could be very challenging for those of you who might faint at the thought of cutting a turkey. So I would say leave that to Grandpa. If you're having the family over, let Grandpa cut the turkey for you. He might know how to cut a turkey leg off a turkey bird. But we would not suggest anyone under 30 cut a turkey. They're either going to have a nervous breakdown or stab themselves or kill a family member once the medication wears off. So that's the simplest way to cook a turkey and the easiest way to do a radio show.
Savage.
If I were an investor, I'd invest in the rehab racket. That's definitely a booming business. If I can find out who owns the rehab business, that's a growth industry. That's a growth, there's no question about it that the future of America is pretty much determined now with first of all, here's my main thing is never trust anyone under 30 for anything. They're unreliable. Please don't call me if you're one of those millennials who knows what's going on. We know some of you exist, but you're an anomaly. Never trust anyone under 30. Why the media runs after that crowd, I'll never understand. They don't have a dime. They live in their parents' houses, and yet that's the advertising business runs after people in that age bracket. Millennials. All they buy are sneakers, marijuana, and yoga pants. Maybe some Kleenex. They don't buy the products that are sold on television or radio. They buy a Cadillac? No. So what does Cadillac advertise on a show for junkies and millennials for? Why they don't advertise on my show when I'm a car expert? Why? Because millennials run the advertising business. So the future of the world is simple. Veganism, global warming, and no sex. That's the whole story in a nutshell. Look forward to that world that you're going to inherit. Veganism, global warming, no sex. Oh, I'm sorry, no guns. That's what they'll vote for. When the monsters like the Soros crowd and the Democrat Soros complex wants to take our guns, once the demos reach that level, they'll vote it out. They'll go against the Second Amendment. Yeah, okay, so we own the Supreme Court and all that. And even, what's her name? One of the ones on the Supreme Court, where she said it's established law. I forget her name, the one from New York. She's as qualified to be on the Supreme Court as my dog Teddy is. I forget her name. She's not distinguished. She's never written, Kagan. That woman, even she, when she was coming up for a vote, she said, the Second Amendment, Heller, I think it was Heller is established law. Established law to get the job. To get the job, she said, Heller is established law. So even if we own the Supreme Court, the hysterics with the whistles and the pink hats, veganism, global warming, no sex, and no guns. That's the future. Play High on Cocaine for a minute. I'm in a sweat already. I'm just getting started. I just want to hear that one again. It's for all you junkies out there. It's all you want. You want your drugs, and I have to pay for your rehab. Why do you blame everybody for your addiction? Nobody stuck the spike in your arm. All right, turn it on. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll are what's destroying the West, in plain English. You can blame the Rolling Stones if you like. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll, the mantras of the left wing in America, are what has destroyed the West. You can't even argue with it. It's so true. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll destroyed the West. Exactly the playbook that was laid out in the early 50s by the KGB at that time to destroy the Western nations from within. I can play you the sound from an ex-KGB agent who wrote about it. I quoted him in Stop Mass Hysteria and in other books. It's a playbook from the old Soviet Union. Flood America with lasciviousness, make degenerate sex the norm, destroy relationships between boy and girl, make the sexes neutral, flood the country with pornography, flood the country with drugs, and the country will collapse from within. Do you understand that? Say, well, what can I do about it? Cook a turkey and enjoy yourself while you can. Or as Aristotle Onassis said, to repeat myself again, if you're going to get raped, you may as well enjoy it. That was an interesting statement of his. He was quite a macho guy. If you don't know who he is, he was a shipping magnate, a Greek. That's a laugh line unto itself because you say, well, that's a norm. But no, it isn't. Aristotle Onassis was a shipping magnate who came from poverty, built up a huge empire as a shipping magnate. Ugly, like a caveman, like brutish looking, real manly, very macho alpha male, brutish looking. So he married Jacqueline Kennedy. Most of you don't know who she is. Another reference. They don't even know who Kennedy is. You know, I realize that the world has changed so fast that a good portion of the people under 30 don't know any of my references. If I say Orwell, they don't know who he is. If I say Sartre, they don't know who he is. If I say JFK, they don't know who he is. If I say Aristotle Onassis, they don't know who he is. They know nothing. Galileo, never heard of him. Aristotle, never heard of him. But if I say the name of some moron who spins records, that they know. Should I play it again, High on Cocaine, to keep them listening? Maybe I should turn the whole audience into millennials, because that's all the advertisers seem to think control the media. They live in their parents' basement and buy sneakers and yoga pants. When have you last seen them? Stop it for a minute. I'm a big watcher of television sometimes, and I'm bored of Netflix. I'm a Netflix refugee. I had enough of it. I got Netflix addicted to these series. Turkish. I was watching I got so desperate. American TV is such garbage. I was watching Turkish serial dramas, like 30 episodes in Turkish. I couldn't even understand it, but I liked it better than American dramas. So I'm tired of Netflix. I think their stock is going to drop now that I stop watching them, because I'm a good bellwether. If I don't like it anymore, you don't like it anymore. So I went back to regular television. Every ad shows millennial morons driving a Cadillac. Now, millennials can't buy a Cadillac. My audience can buy Cadillacs.
Savage.
I haven't gotten to the prison reform thing that Trump signed the other day. Another stupid, I never saw anything like this. Not one word from the conservative movement that doesn't exist anymore. All you hear the phonies screaming about the Constitution, Bill of Rights. Talk about reality on the ground. More illegals than ever. Killing the animals. Don't give me this garbage. Don't become another mini Sean Hannity licking the boots. It's as though Jerry Brown is in the White House. Prison reform. How's that worked out for us in California? That he signed prison reform. Why? Because the entertainers went in there with the waste of DNA, that one, into the Oval Office. I won't even mention her name. I will not mention her name. Waste of human DNA. They go in there to talk about prison reform. The next thing you know, he signs a bill, prison reform. So now prisoners will be in the streets now. So he said, oh, that's good. The liberals lauded him for it. The liberals loved that he's going to release prisoners from our prisons. Well, I don't love it because I live in California. Ask the police about Jerry Brown's prison reform project and what that has done to the crime rate in this state. Instead of reading newspaper articles put out by bootlickers like Sean Hannity. Let me tell you what it's done. There are gangs that roam the streets of San Francisco. They come in mobs of 10 to 15 with shopping bags. And they go into stores and they sweep iPhones into the bags. If it's an Apple store, or if it's a makeup store like Sephora, they're sweeping entire shelves of expensive cosmetics into bags, and they're running out. And if a clerk tries to stop them, they punch the clerk in the mouth. If a cop arrests them, a degenerate, paid-off judge in San Francisco releases them immediately back to the streets. It's considered not a crime if it's under $1,000. That's your prison reform for you. There's a crime epidemic in San Francisco because of Jerry Brown's goofy, bleeding heart liberal prison reform project pushed by the George Soros group. Again, a name you're not supposed to mention. But he's behind it. So drugs, sex, rock and roll, and felons in the streets. Add that to the mixture. And you wonder why the society is melting down? Because Trump signed it now, I'm supposed to salute like a good soldier? No, it's a stupid thing to do. It should not have been done. And yet, where are the conservative voices who are saying one word about this idiocy? This is such a left-wing policy that it's hard to fathom how so-called conservatives in the media are not saying one word about it. That's why I don't want to talk about news today, because I can't do anything about it. I've given up. All politicians are the same at the end of the day. It's just a matter of different tone and different style. Otherwise, it's the same thing. Jason online, line 4. Let's take a caller on the Savage Nation.
Yes, sir. Dr. Savage. Great pleasure to talk to you. You're on fire, man. Love it. You're saying everything that we're feeling because we're fed up with it, you know?
I do know.
No matter who's in office.
That was the job of talk radio. We were supposed to be the voice of the people. We were not supposed to be the voice of any administration.
Exactly.
I guess they lost that message somewhere along the way. The three big shots, the deaf, the dumb, and the blind.
Yeah. So they're leading us astray, and it's like it's just one big.
Well, no one complains. Nobody says a word to them. Nobody stands up and says, wait a minute now. Prison reform, that's a Jerry Brown idea. How did that get signed by the president? He promised us the wall instead. We got prison reform. All right, that's all. No, you're not getting a free book, but thanks for holding and breathing deeply anyway. I appreciate that. I'm not in the mood to give out Stop Mass Hysteria. My feeling is that the book is so good that you should just go and buy it and read it for the holidays and give it to somebody. I mean, I did the best I could. That's the last one I'm doing. The publisher asked me for another. I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing any more political books, so far as I can tell. No, really, I don't think I ever want to do it. I know, look, let's say I'm still living and I'm still on the radio come 2020, meaning how far away is that? It's 2018 next. You're going to hear the next thing starting already. It's starting in already. Who's running for 2020? Who can win on the Democrat side? This is the stock and trade of stupid. Day and night, the same crap. Who can run? Who can win? Who can win? Who can run? Like it matters? That's what you're going to hear now from 2019 through 2020 to jack your chains. Who's going to run? Who can win? Is it Biden? Is it Schmeiden? Is it Hayden? Is it Hayden? Is it Hayden? Is it Schopenhauer? Who can run and who can win? Will Trump run? 2 more years of this now. I'd rather cut my right finger off than do that. I'm not doing it. I'm on strike. The election is over. And all I hear are people roasting it over and over again, like going through the charred beef with a fork over and over again, who and this, and they were counting that, and she said this, and Broward County and Palm County, and he really won, and Republicans are good, and they don't do these things, the Democrats are bad, they always do these things, you got to listen to me, they're evil, and we're good, and this way to the egress, and I make $39 million a year, and I have a new Gulfstream, ha, 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 schmuck, I'm on your side, I'm one of the small people, ha, 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 I have an ostrich bag that I gave my girlfriend, but I'm a good conservative, I'm a great American. Oh, American. Oh, my God, what malarkey. What malarkey. So prison reform now signed in the White House. No protection of wildlife. Instead, kill the wolves, kill the bears, kill the deer, kill the antelope, kill everything that crawls, poison the air, poison the water, all in the name of commerce. It's like I wake up and suddenly it's 1947. Let's say like 1952. We just won World War II. There's no concept of the earth, of the globe, of the environment, of ecology. It's like nothing has been learned in 70 years. That's the new Republican Party. It's like a smokestack mentality in Pittsburgh in 1952. They pollute that damn water. That was just water. God will make more water. Just run those tailings into that water. It doesn't matter. Kill them damn fish. We don't eat them anyway. As far as the animals go, they're all a threat to me. They all got rabies. Kill them all. Trees, I don't like trees. I don't walk in the damn woods. Cut them all down. Sell the logs to Japan. Pave the damn thing over and build a Hyatt on it. That's all. That's the new Republican way. Pave the earth. Just pave that earth. Pave that sucker. That's what we do. Pollute the air. Pollute the water. Kill the animals. That's the way. That's the way. That's the American way. You're a great American. I'm a great American. No, you're a great American, Sean. No, I'm a great American. No, you're a great American. Sold American. Maybe no one's laughing at this, but I've had enough of this. How much can I take every day, day in and day out, listening to this malarkey? You think I don't hear both sides lying to us? You think I'm deaf? I'm not deaf. I'm not blind. I'm not dumb. And I got to go to sleep at night, listen to my own thoughts, and at the end of the day, to thine own self be true. It's a brief dance in the sun. It's a very brief dance in the sun, and at the end of the day, you face your maker. And he looks at you, and he says things to you, that last second, which is an eternity, when he judges. Maybe it's all a dream, maybe it's not a dream, but I assume it's not a dream. I'm not one of those people who think I'm dreaming. Maybe you are. I don't have to say I think, therefore I am, or I talk, therefore I am. I know I am. And I know it's a very brief little dance in the sun. And then there's an eternity. Now, you may say, how do you know that? Well, how do you not know it? I'll err on the side that there is an eternity, there is a judgment day, and I will err on the side that we have to account for our sins on this earth at that time. I will just tell you that that's the way I see it. So where does that leave us? I'm going to lie my way through a radio career to make more money, to have another station, to be patted on the head by somebody? I'm not going to do it. I never did and I never will. So if I wake up and I see things going on that are just like if a Democrat was doing it, like prison reform, that's a Jerry Brown thing, man. What do you mean prison reform? What does that actually mean? Well, come to California. You'll see what it means. You need an armed guard outside a store in San Francisco. That's prison reform. Muggings, jackings, windows broken, shoplifting spree. That's what it means. That's prison reform. The answer was more prisons. Build more of them and build them out of the country. Build more prisons, not less. Farm it out to Russia. Build a bunch of prisons in Siberia and send them there. Send the hardened prisoners to Siberia. Then you'll have the answer to the prison reform that you need. And if that doesn't work, try a few in Guatemala. Build a few new prisons in Guatemala and hire Guatemalan prison guards. Then you'll see the crime rate drop. Instead of coddling them with air-conditioned cells and television. Now what do you want to talk about? Addicts. What is that show, Vice? Who runs that? Who funds that? Who owns that network? Every day they're extolling drug addicts. Riding around in South Florida, they're in a car. Who's that disgusting, like, sick-looking girl in the car? The chief addict rehab girl with the ugly green fingernails and the hooker face. Who is she? They made her into a star, too. Instead of taking, like, a nurse, some distinguished nurse or a teacher, look who they show to feature. An ex-hooker who's an ex-drug addict who deals only with drug addicts who whine in the car on the way to pick up another drug addict flying in from Newark, New Jersey to get some free treatment that I pay for. That's a show. And you say, well, why are you watching it? Because I can't believe it's on television. But wait a minute, who owns Nat Geo? Who owns Vice? You follow the money, you'll understand where it all leads. That's all. You talk about insanity. You say, well, how much more of this can you take, Savage? Why do you even do this anymore? You really sound like you're cracking up from the stress. I'm actually not. I was this way the day I began, which was quite a while ago. It's just that I'm feeling the same things I felt in the beginning. It seems that no matter what I've worked for, the same thing happens. Illegal aliens pouring over the border. Leeches coming over the border to kill my health system, kill my judicial system, turn the nation and state into a bigger moronic state than it already is. No English being spoken anywhere. No literacy anywhere. The literacy level in America, forget about the illegal aliens, because of the glorification of street rats who can play a bongo drum, or whatever they bang or they do. I don't know what they do. Spin a record. They're so stupid. That's the new language of America. Borders, language, culture. They don't even speak English. I speak 50 words of English. I make $50 million in the bank. You get that? That's the new norm now. The stupider you are, the higher you go. Now what? You want to talk about how to cook a turkey? Play that again, the high on cocaine again, for the addicts are all calling now. Getting a lot of addicts calling the show. I can give you another recipe for roast beef next. I don't eat roast beef. It's too fatty. Turkey itself is with the tryptophan story I've given you every year. Makes you dopey, sleepy, you unbutton the pants on the couch and watch The Godfather. What a national holiday. You go to the family house, eat that dirty bird, the turkey. You sit there, you don't know what to do. You know, your relative, you don't like anybody. They don't like you. You don't fit in. There's no warmth. You try to create warmth. That's so long gone. Currier and Ives are dead, man. I got to take a break.
Savage.
So cold now in the Bay Area, you know, getting out of bed in the morning. Normally I like it. Now it's hard, the cold weather. But frankly, my Casper mattress makes it so tempting to just stay on the covers and stay cozy. It's hands down the most comfortable mattress I've ever slept on. And if you try Casper, you're going to love yours as much as I love mine. It's a no-brainer, high quality, affordable price. You'll sleep as comfortably as I do every night. You won't want to get out of bed. You won't wake up overheated thanks to the unique combination of foams. Casper will come to your house for free in a small little box. You don't like it, they'll pick it up. They'll give you back every dime, from its engineering to its packaging to letting you try it for 100 nights. It's no wonder Casper has over 35,000 five-star reviews of all their products across Casper, Google, and Amazon. Sleeping on a mattress is the best way to try it. Put Casper to the test in your own home for 100 nights, risk-free. Just go to Casper.com, but you must use code SAVAGE to get that $50 towards the purchase of select mattresses. Did you hear me? Casper.com, code SAVAGE. You'll get $50 off select mattresses. Casper.com. Terms and conditions apply. Mike on KBET in Las Vegas, Nevada. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael, I just wanted to thank you for the wisdom that you share about tending your garden. We have 4 grandsons under the age of 7, and rather than getting, completely worked up about the results of the election, we're investing in them. We bought some cheap land. We're teaching them how to dig holes, build fences, chop brush, build a fire.
Well, they'll be self-sufficient the way Americans have been for hundreds of years. And when the America that we love is no more, there will be pockets of America that are left where the grandchildren that you are raising will be the backbone of that new America.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And when you teach them truth and you teach them the basics that we all know are universally true, they can recognize what's false when they get older. And, it's absolutely cleansing as an adult to be out there with those kids with no power, no electricity, no cell phone service, no water.
Oh, you're completely off the grid? How are you listening to the show and calling me then?
Well, we live in greater Las Vegas, and our land is in Arizona. So we go out there on the weekends. But
I good luck to you. I really love it. I mean, I think strong, dynamic individualists like yourself are the backbone of the country. But I'm talking about other subjects today. Illegals rushing toward the border, yelling asylum, coached by the ACLU. We have more coming over the border than we did under Obama. Gray wolves are going to lose their protection as the throwback Republicans are rushing to remove them from protection before the Dems take over. No wonder millennials and women hate the GOP. Why young people are having so little sex? Answer: pornography. My gripe with rehab racketeers, because rehab does not work. Everybody knows it doesn't work. Everybody knows it's just a paid vacation. Moreover, they probably buy drugs in some of these rehab houses. What do you think? I don't know. You think we're all stupid? We're talking about prison reform, which I'm totally opposed, because if you look at California, you'll see Jerry Brown's prison reform plan and how it has caused a crime wave. Ask any cop about it. If you think I'm just talking and I don't know the streets, you are mistaken. This was a not thought out plan by the president. It was pushed through by the liberal wing of his own party, and it should not have been put through without a discussion with the American people and with some kind of vote. I don't know how this got through all of us. A prison reform. What? Because a rap star went in there with a waste of DNA next to him, with the Sphinx smile, the whatever she is? What was she doing in there, that dummy? That dolt from a family of idiots. Wasted DNA from top to bottom. Narcissism doesn't even account for what these people are. And that prison reform, you hear this?
Savage. Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Stop Mass Hysteria, Michael Savage.
I'm just sitting here watching the world go by, that's all. My object as a commentator is to watch the world go by. The fact of the matter is, I am burned out with both sides right now. I worked so hard for Borders, Language, and Culture. I wake up and they're pouring over the border at greater numbers than they were under Obama. That's number one. That's number one. Number two, instead of protecting the earth, they're decimating the earth. That's number two. Then I see this thing like prison reform. Sounds good on paper. Oh, there's too many Americans in prison. America has more prisoners per capita than any country on earth. Well, we have more criminals than any country on earth. Did you ever add that up? They're not in there because they're innocent. That's George Soros'. Yeah, again, his name comes up wherever you turn. The Innocence Project. Who do you think funded that? Everyone in jail is innocent. You know, that's where they hold the Bible. Everyone has a Bible in their cell till they get out and go out and rape and kill again. No one committed a crime. Ask anyone in jail if they actually did the crime. Nobody did. They're all innocent. All day long they sit around group sessions, meetings. I'm sitting here sweating my you-know-what off every day, working from morning till night. And they're sitting around having a nice time. Got television, nice meals. They don't feel good. They go to special doctors. Then they go to group therapy sessions all day long. How come you killed that old man and his wife in the house when you went to rob them of the crucifix and the candles? I just felt like it because I have bad self-esteem because I grew up in a house where, well, it was dysfunctional and I just wasn't feeling good that day. So I figured I'd kill the old man and his wife. Are you sorry about it? Well, kind of. Yeah, a little bit. Well, if you're released, will you do it again? No, absolutely not. No, I deserve parole. So this is what goes all day long. They're coaching each other, getting law degrees. Most prisoners who are smart know more about the law than most people who come out of Yale after a certain number of years. What do you mean prison reform? I live in a state where there's prison reform. There's a crime wave that is in the state of California that is out of control. The wildfires are bad enough. Do you know what the crime wave is in the state? You don't know. You should know what prison reform has done. This was not thought out. The stupid rap star went in with his ignorant wife who stands there with a sphinx face and says nothing after 50,000 surgeries. This was an ugly chick to begin with. That whole family is ugly. Didn't the father become a girl? Isn't that the family where the father became a girl? Or am I mistaken? This is what's behind the thinking now. The father cut off a Schmendrick to become a woman to get more attention. Bruce Schmendrick, whatever his name was. He had his schwanz cut off so he could get more attention after he was no longer getting attention. The daughters are no different than him. They cut their hands off to be in the news another second. They get into the Oval Office. They start lecturing the president about prison reform. Like all of a sudden, prisoners are going to vote for Republicans. How'd that work out in the last midterm elections we just had? Like, did that help? All the prisoners are rushing to vote for Republicans because of prison reform. Sure. Look, since I'm on a tear right now, let's go down the line. Let's go to the next step. Let's really get it all out of my system once and for all before the holidays arrive. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe I won't. But, there's a certain point I feel like I'm going to vomit from this. There's only so much I can take. I can't take anymore. Here's one. Wait, not the gray wolves losing federal protection. Where's the one about the handbag woman? Is she still up at my website? How'd they get dropped from my website so fast? The woman with the handbags picked to be the South. Here it is. Trump picks handbag designer Mar-a-Lago member to be ambassador to South Africa. So I said, oh, wait, come on. Yep, Vanity Fair. She picked a woman who is a handbag designer. All right, so not so bad. She grew up in South Africa. Okay, that adds up. But what are her qualifications to serve as ambassador to South Africa? Well, she's a Palm Beach-based designer. She is a member of Mar-a-Lago. She's a luxury handbag designer. Okay, not so bad. But the bags are made with exotic animal skins, alligator, ostrich, and the bags sell between $19,000 and $100,000 a handbag. You hear this? Now, I got to ask you something. Are you telling me the optics on this are good for the Republican Party? According to the Palm Beach Daily, she's known to be like Trump. Oh, God. Marks must be confirmed by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, which could take under consideration more than a dozen past lawsuits against her in Aspen, New York, California, South Florida. In those lawsuits, she has repeatedly been accused of stiffing her attorneys, accountants, landlords, and employees. Oh, that's even better. In July of 2015, the announced appointee was evicted from her office on Worth Avenue in Palm Beach for failing to pay $25,000 in rent and other expenses. In 04, 07, and 09, the landlords for her store on Worth Avenue also filed complaints against her for failing to pay rent, although the cases were settled without eviction. Well, she's perfect to be an ambassador. I think that's perfect. I think that's just great. Of course, I covered the killing of white farmers, which was ripped off by Tucker Carlson, picked up by Donald Trump, who only watches Fox News and doesn't listen to radio anymore. And that's a good thing. But what is she going to do about the killing of the white farmers? Make them into handbags? Maybe she make exotic handbags out of the white farmers in South Africa. Maybe that's what she has in mind. Okay, well, there it is. Fine. That's an ambassador now. But there's no difference in any administration. Fundamentally, an ambassador is a paid position. What do you think? Obama picked the best and the brightest? He picked the cream of the crop? You buy a ticket, one-way ticket to Palookaville with those. Who would want to be an ambassador anyway? What a horrible job that is. You get a nice office, you get a couple of bodyguards, you get a car, you throw dinners at government expense. And who comes to your dinners if you're an ambassador? I ran it through my head. Who comes to the dinners? Somebody who wants something from the United States of America for nothing. Somebody who wants to sell you a service or a good. And that's it. You sit around with them and you have a fine meal and you have to send it up the chain. Who does it go to? Secretary of State? Who's that now? I don't even know who that is anymore. I can't keep up with it. I don't think Mustache is long for the job, the walrus. I told you that yesterday. See if I'm right or wrong over the next few weeks. Let's see what plays out. You know who I'm talking about? Bolton, the warmonger maniac who got us into the Iraq war with the lie about weapons of mass destruction that were never there. How many men died because of Bolton's lies about weapons of mass destruction? Maybe some of you listening to the show. So now this guy, I told you, came out of nowhere. A year ago, I saw him circling the buffet table at Mar-a-Lago. He couldn't get near the president. That time I was in, he was out. That's how it works. Now he's in, I'm out. It's just the way it works with power structures. It's like a court, the king in his court. So at that time, he was circling. He could not get near the buffet. He couldn't eat the leftover meatballs that the staff left over. He couldn't eat. So now I wake up, and all of a sudden, because of, I believe, the same man who is stabbing the president's policies in the back, Kellyanne Conway's husband, who's running a whole group against the president. I think either him or the Mercers put this guy in. All of a sudden, Bolton's in. The next thing you know, the world almost is on fire. War with Russia, war with China, war with Iran, insulting Russia, insulting China. That's all this moron knows. That's not a diplomat. That's not a national security advisor. That is a man with a match running around looking to set a world on fire. Why? Why would a guy like this want to start wars? Because his power increases during a time of war. Do you understand it? It's like a pyromaniac who becomes a fireman. Unless there are fires, there's no justification for the firehouse. So you got to start a war. So the guy's running around the globe like with matches in his hand. So I say these things on the radio at great risk to my personal safety and self. Why? Maybe there's a crazy part of me. I don't know. But it's true. That's why. Sometimes the truth is crazy. You understand that. Then I see the other day that this guy Bolton's chief of staff, this woman with a mutt face on her, my God, what a face on her. Did you see that face? Who got into a spat with Melania? Did you see the face on that woman? You're not allowed to mention that these days. But as a man, I did. What a punim on that woman. Like a distortion. So she gets into a spat with the most beautiful, intelligent woman on the planet and starts to try and rank her, who's the first lady. Now, who do you think's going to win that fight? The mutt who works for Bolton? So the first lady does something that's unprecedented. She publicly says that the woman is not up, whatever the words were, they were pretty well potent. She doesn't have the dignity or something to serve the president. And she does it through, and they move the girl out, the woman, the one with the face that looks like it was run over. It's in the youth or something. Something went wrong somewhere. And so she throws it. Now, why would Melania want the chief of staff of Bolton out? My guess, because she can't get Bolton out, but she can get the chief of staff out. And that's a signal now to Bolton. That's how I'm reading it. So if I'm right, Bolton's not long for the job. If I am wrong, Bolton's very long for the job. But frankly, it's all up to Sean Hannity, since he picked him. Oh, yeah. Oh, all of the great people in this administration were picked by the genius. And the reason Sean is so good at all of this is because he has great knowledge, great experience, widely read, world travel, knows all of these things, tremendous subtlety and nuance. So we'll have to see which way this plays out over the next few days. But getting back to the issues at hand, which are many things, it doesn't really matter who we elect at the end of the day. We tried very hard. We thought we had something. We almost had something. But would it really be worse with Hillary, and how much worse would it be is the only question that remains. And the answer is yes, it would be 100% worse. That's the problem. That's the problem. In other words, as grating as all of this is, prison reform, more illegals coming over the border than under Obama, killing the wildlife, on almost every level except the environment, any Democrat would be 1,000% worse than this. And so, therefore, we got to take what we have and work the best we can and pray to God that he listens to people like me and understands that we do see what's going on and that we back him, but we can't back him like it's a religion. We can't back him as though we're Catholics in Venezuela in 1940 and he's the Pope coming to visit. I mean, what kind of country can survive blind worship of a leader? Tell me. Didn't we say that the Democrats shouldn't blindly worship Obama when he was doing some terrible things? So we have the same problem here. Why should we blindly worship the man we put in power when he does things that go against the entire grain of everything we believe in some regard? The answer is what? Because we fear the other side even more? Maybe that's a good enough answer. So I rest my case and I'll let you decide.
Savage.
Boom, bang, 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 boom, bang, boom. I have like 5 seconds now to have a conversation. Bang, 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 boom, and another break again. Well, thank God in January you'll be able to catch me on a podcast. All you got to do is go to michaelsavage.com, Apple, or wherever you listen to a podcast, and you'll get my show denuded of the clutter. Sorry to say. I mean, I love the clutter. It pays the bills. But everyone's complaining about the clutter. Everyone knows that. I'd like more clutter. There should be no talking at all. There should be actually no talk radio. There should be ads for 60 straight minutes. No conversation permitted. That would be real talk radio the way it's going. Just ads from beginning to the end. Because you can get creative ads that are better than most people in the field today. It'd be more interesting to listen to ads than most of them. Actually, when you add it up. A creative ad could be more interesting than talk radio that repeats the same thing all day long, like a broken record. All right, let's talk about the topics on hand here. Wolves, addicts. WABC, Mitchell, you're calling about the, quote, prison reform. What's your opinion?
Michael, how are you? I'm trying
Good, great, wonderful. What's on your mind?
For a whole future that penalize violent crime and negotiated nonviolent crime. And the only people that should be in prison are violent people, and everybody else should be in some work release program.
Oh, they should?
Prison
Why don't you tell that to the store owners in San Francisco? You'll see the nonviolent criminals robbing their stores blind.
Well, you gotta work a little harder on having street life in San Francisco that's a little broader. You don't have 1,000 people a minute walking by the corner over there.
Wait, what does that have to do with what I just said? Your argument is that nonviolent criminals should not be in prison. And I'm saying to you, in the real world, not in a laboratory, nonviolent criminals are conducting a crime wave in San Francisco.
Well, they can be redistributed. Nobody's saying that you can't pick them up and get them a shower, a square meal, and put them somewhere else. You don't have
a shower and a square meal. I didn't say homeless. I said people who were released from prison are involved in a crime spree in California.
That's not an aberration, but it isn't as severe in other spots. And you still have to have a civil responsibility to cure it.
Come on with the liberal response. Why don't you ask the cops about your civil responsibility and ask them about the gangs that are coming in to the stores in San Francisco and sweeping the stores clean as they have shopping bags in their hand because the judges let them out the next day.
But then you can pick them up for harboring and having criminal felony merchandise.
Are you an ACLU lawyer?
No, actually, I'm just stuck in traffic on Madison Avenue.
Okay, well, don't shoplift is all I could say if you get bored. Whatever you do on Madison Avenue, don't shoplift. Because even if you get arrested under de Blasio, you'll be released the next second. Probably be given a city job. Anyway, that's my opinion. Prison reform is a liberal, feel-good, dangerous policy. This is not to say that we need to lock everybody up. The answer is to build more prisons and house the prisoners, but build them outside the United States where it's cheaper to build and the prison guards cost less. Put them in Siberia.
Savage.
so-called judge has ruled that Florida law on matching ballot signatures is unconstitutional. In other words, to a Democrat judge, whether it's in Florida or San Francisco, anything that shows a Democrat lost is illegal. Anything that shows a Republican won is illegal. To them, what legal means is nothing. They make it up as they go along. Judge sides with Nelson, rules Florida law on matching ballot signatures being applied unconstitutionally. In other words, you're not allowed to match a signature. You might prove that the person isn't the person. These are the same mentality that we should know voter ID. Anyone should be able to vote. Anyone. After all, even those who commit felonies should vote. Sneak into the country, immediately vote for Nancy Pelosi. Vote for Governor Brown the minute you sneak over the border in Tijuana. Go right to a reception center with a vote. And if you think this is good for California or the nation, look to other one-party nations and you'll see where this goes. Look to other one-party nations and you'll see where this country is going under the Democrats and their criminality. You know, even a Democrat, a reasonable Democrat would agree with me and say we need, my old saying, a bird needs two wings to fly. It cannot fly with only a left wing. It goes in circles. Write that one down. California right now is going in circles because it flies with only a left wing. That's why it's going in circles. That's why bums can crap in the street with impunity. That's why people can break into stores and rob stuff with impunity. That's why there's no morality, no decency. That's why the fires are burning out of control. Everywhere you turn, it's because the bird is flying with one left wing. A bird needs two wings to fly. You can write that one down, see if you can remember it. So we could talk about these specific topics that I brought up, the so-called prison reform, my contempt for shows about rehab. I hate those shows. I'm disgusted with self-indulgent drug addicts being glorified by Nat Geo on a show called Vice. Why do they glorify drug dealers and junkies on this channel Vice? Who owns Vice? What are they trying to do here? In other words, if Nat Geo goes undercover with cameras to a drug dealer's house with the bandana, I buy a drug, I sell them on the street, look at all the money. If they know that and they're not telling the police, are they not complicit in the crime? Why can't Nat Geo the people from Nat Geo, the producers, directors, and cameramen be arrested? What do you think? What are they doing here? How could this be that they glorify drug dealers like this? I got $50,000 or something. Take a look at all the money. I'll go in the street. I got to watch out with the fuzz. This is what their idea of television is? Who owns Nat Geo? Who's behind it? Who? The same people who are giving your children drugs, sex, and rock and roll and wrecking the nation from the top to the bottom. That's who. Borders, language, culture. All right, let's take the callers on this subject. Brian on WABC, line 3. Go ahead, please. Your topic is addiction.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to tell you about I've been to rehab myself. I wanted to tell you, you're going to like this. When I went to rehab, and I'm young, I went to an adolescent house. And what they would do to these kids is, especially the kids on the 28-day programs, if they were on heroin, or one example here is this kid came in on, he was on heroin and he was on Xanax. And what they did for him to fight the withdrawals, they prescribed him with a 30-day supply of Suboxone and a 30-day supply of, Klonopin for his 28-day stay. So
they put him on prescription drugs while he was supposedly getting off hard street drugs? Is that their answer?
Exactly. So now,
then what? He came out addicted to the prescription drugs, no doubt.
It gets better. I was in there for 7 months, so I saw a lot of 28-day guys come in and out. The entire time he was there, he was asleep practically because he was high the entire time.
Well, he got a nice rest at government expense, didn't he? Nice vacation. Instead of making him break rocks and sweep streets, they gave him a nice 30-day vacation in a warm cell with 3 meals, with the girls kissing his hair. How did you feel? How was your childhood? How do you feel today? How's your self-esteem? What kind of nonsense is this?
Now the best part is, you're going to love this. When he got out, he made his completion. They gave him his completion certificate as a graduate. When he got out, they gave him a 3-month supply for prescriptions for those drugs.
Oh, well, of course. That's how the pharmaceutical medical rehab industry works.
Now,
wait, let me add to this. If you look at the corporate directorships of the rehab companies that are national, the large rehab companies, and you tie them into the large pharmaceutical companies, and you find the same names on the boards of directors of the rehab organizations and the drug companies, you'll understand why this is happening.
Well, let me tell you this. I was going to.
But I'm the only one in America who is talking about interlocking corporate directorships. It's an old fact that was once very well understood in America that you cannot have interlocking corporate directorships without total corruption of all the systems. You understand that? Thank you for the call. I don't know how many times I can say the same thing. People don't hear me because I don't say I'm a great American enough, I guess. I'm a great American, so what I'm about to tell you is true. The story you're about to hear is true because I tell you it's true, and because I am the greatest man on the planet Earth with talent on loan from God. I'm a great American. Maybe I should start my show telling you that I'm with talent on loan from God. That's a great saying. That's really one. That really works. In this age, 25 years later, to say the same thing. What an insult that is to conservatives who believe in God. God, talk about tone deaf. I am really burning up today. Maybe I should have taken off. I didn't want to take off. It was like next week is Thanksgiving. I'm not taking off. I have to take off Thursday and Friday like everyone because there's no staff. But Wednesday is like I have to do my great Wednesday pre-Thanksgiving show that everyone's come to love. Everyone loves that show because it reminds me of when I was at Queens College and I would drive and buy the bottle of booze. I always tell that story. It's boring by now. I won't tell it again, I promise. I always loved Thanksgiving as a kid. My mother, God rest her soul, made such a beautiful Thanksgiving. She would cook in that little house, that attached house on Utopia Parkway, just across from Trump's nice house. It wasn't really a mansion what Trump had. By today's standards, it was a small house he grew up in. A little house, the one he had. But it was like Jamaica Estates over there, whatever. It was nicer, bigger, detached house. We had semi-attached. No, we had an attached house. That's how you rate it. It's like a Buick LeSabre as opposed to a Buick. It was like so graded in those days. Like the car you drove, you were graded by the insignia on the car. Like a Pontiac fire chief. You were close to like a Rockefeller if you had a Pontiac fire chief. If you owned a new Cadillac, forget about it. But everything was graded very carefully in those days, like the kind of car, the level of the car, the Buick LeSabre. Every kid knew, like, oh, look at that, he's driving it. Wow, look at that. Roadmaster, they must really be great in the handbag business. Handbags must have been big last year. The yawn must have been really hotly. So we knew everything. So like attached houses, semi-attached houses, detached houses. So we all knew that. That's how it worked. How did we know so much? How did we grow up and learn so much? Why? Because there were fathers in every house. There was not one kid I knew, not one kid that I grew up with who did not have a father in the house. Not one. It doesn't mean they were all tough. Most of them were very nice men who were very meek. The mothers ran the houses, except in my family. I don't know how I lucked out like that, but everyone else had a nice father, easygoing. It was basically a matriarchy. The mothers ruled the roost. My house was like living in like Siberia in the 1700s. Like you couldn't say, you were like afraid to say a word. But as a result, I mean, he kept you in line. And the truth is, he told you what was what, and what was right, and it's always been right. And he would rail the same way I'm railing right now about junkies. What do you think? He had sympathy for them? He had a treatment for it. He had a treatment that I can't even repeat on the air here. He had no sympathy for the people who were using drugs. He had contempt for them. He hated them because he knew they were leeches on society. They committed the crimes. So in those days, you tolerated them. Now already they're put in television like a role model. And all they do is whine on these shows. Oh, I feel so terrible today. I can't get through the day. Oh, my head's closing in on me. Oh, life is terrible. I need another shot. Let me out. I want to go get a fix. That's the world we live in. That's glorified now by Nat Geo. And so you have a kid watching. What does this kid who's watching this garbage think? That what, he wants to become a heroin addict to become a movie star? Or a prostitute so he can become a star in the country? This is what the country is becoming, like borders, language, culture. What do you think I mean by culture? Take a look who's running the culture. Take a look who's behind most of these shows. Real prizes of humanity. All right, so it's Thanksgiving next week. I gave you a turkey recipe right at the beginning. And so, no, someone had to criticize that, too. Some woman called for the Midwest and said, you'll kill half the country if they followed your recipe. She's stupid. It's worked for me my whole life. I know how to cook a turkey, but even here, you got to get the trolls calling and say you don't know how to cook a turkey. Whatever you do, whether it's in radio or on social media, some idiot will tell you don't know what you're doing. For 30 years, I've cooked a turkey that came out perfect. Brown on the outside, moist on the inside, thoroughly cooked. And she's telling me I'll kill half of America with my recipe. Because that's what you have today. Because of the democracy of the media, everyone thinks they're an expert on something. So here, what do you want to talk about now? Should I change the topics on why there's no sex amongst the young? I didn't even get to that topic. It's a long story, a whole thing, a mishigas about it. But it's an interesting story that I touched on. You didn't care about Michelle Obama's money-making hypocrisy. Great article by Maureen Callahan in the New York Post about what a gonif she is and a con woman. Great. Yesterday, I tried Genius on you. De Niro's last role from Raging Bull to Raging Fool. 3 people understood what I was talking about, the father figure issue. 3 people got the whole thing. It was genius, actually. And you should see it on michaelsavage.com. Robert De Niro is playing his last role, that of an aging ham, who is showing signs of presenile dementia, in my opinion. And about his obscene rage towards the President of the United States, I said, indicates a pathology that a psychiatrist can understand. And that it's not based so much on reality, in my opinion, as is upon serious psychological damage that De Niro suffered as a child, notably the fact that he wishes he had Donald Trump had been his father, wishes Donald Trump had been his father. That's what I think is going on here. And that's why he's become such a crazy anti. No one paid attention to it. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Very insightful. I don't have to tell you it's on with talent on loan from God, because you know it's as close as you're going to get to the great thinkers of all time. But today I want to talk about why are young people having so little sex. It's an interesting story, but if you read the whole thing in The Atlantic, it's like, typical Atlantic article, like 20 pages long. But you have to read to the bottom line to find out it's basically because of pornography. She comes with, hookup culture, helicopter parents, bad sex, inhibition. None of that's true. The truth is that the children have such access to pornography that they're simply masturbating rather than dating and having sex, which leads us to the conclusion this will not happen in the near term. It will happen in the long term. Pornography will again be banned in this country. Pornographers will be arrested for the felons that they are. And this will not go on any longer. It is destroying Western civilization. I'm guaranteeing you that in your lifetime, whether I'm on the radio or not, you will see a movement to ban pornography. Whether it comes from the Democrats or the Republicans, it doesn't matter. There'll be a national consensus to get this toxic pollution out of our country.
Savage.
Hey, look, if you take an atom of nitrogen, you bond it with an atom of oxygen. Remember now, nitrogen plus oxygen. What do you create? Nitric oxide. What is that? Well, it's a miracle molecule that your own body makes, which fuels your cardiovascular health. It helps keep you very vibrant. But as we get older, our bodies need help with this important process. Super Beets by Human has harnessed the power of nutrient-enriched beets, and they've created a superfood that helps your body make more nitric oxide on its own. You see, 1 teaspoonful of Super Beets every day will help support your cardiovascular health and blood pressure levels, and it gives you natural energy with no caffeine kick or sugar high. We're talking about real healthy natural energy. Joe from Austin says this: Super Beets has helped me stick to my goals of watching what I eat and getting more exercise. I take Super Beets before I work out. It's a big help with stamina. I want you to call 800-481-0504 or go to savagelovesbeets.com. 800-481-0504 or savagelovesbeets.com, and you can find out how to get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets and free shipping with your first purchase. It's a great deal. Check it out. Call 800-481-0504 or go to savagelovesbeets.com right now. And now back to all the news, views, and reviews you've come to expect from Michael Savage. So we looked up who owns this despicable National Geographic channel on cable that seems to glorify drug dealers and push rehab. And lo and behold, 21st Century Fox owns 75% of Nat Geo. That means Rupert Murdoch also is responsible for this. The man who made his fortune with tabloid newspapers, cheesecake and crime and whatnot, is now, again, pushing this agenda through this 21st Century Fox Nat Geo outlet. What can I do about it? They're much bigger than we can ever imagine. They own everything. They control everything. And Moloch is behind it as well. So what can I do? Nothing but report on it. That's like, now, what is the Trump prison reform? Not one word of dispute on this from the so-called conservatives who have talent on loan from God. But this prison reform plan is identical to that of Jerry Brown's California. It's a liberal prison, quote, reform plan. Do you understand that if a liberal put this through, let's reverse it for those of you who listen to talk radio and can't think anymore. Your brain doesn't work. It's frozen. It's like a projector that got frozen in a piece of film is in a sprocket that's burned in your head. What does prison reform actually mean? It means that if Obama had passed the very same prison reform, Mitch McConnell and the gang of liars would have screamed like bloody murder to try to appeal to you and said, no, it's too liberal. You're going to release criminals to the street. That's if Obama had done it. But because Trump does it, because the liberal side of his family pushed it, it's good now? Why? 2 legs good, 4 legs bad? So you actually look at this. He's getting rid of the 3 strikes provision. I thought that conservatives loved the 3 strikes provision. I mean, when it originally passed, I was on the radio. All of you phonies out there cheered it, didn't you? What happened to you? All of a sudden, you forgot that the 3 strikes provision was extremely popular? When did that suddenly not become popular? Oh, why? Because we're supposed to now look the other way? I looked into this. This is Jerry Brown in the White House now with the prison reform. But all right, you can look at it any way you want. I've got to give it the sober, hard reality of these policies. That's
Michael Savage, a host like no other.